Welcome to the Great Life Experiment podcast. I'm your host, Monique Schaefer, and together we'll grapple with our messy, beautiful, and ever-changing personal and professional lives and the business world around us. I deeply believe there is no one right way to do this thing called life. Let's experiment together. As a quick reminder, friends, please note that this podcast is an independent production, and the information presented here and views expressed here reflect my personal opinion and do not reflect the views or positions of any organization or company that I'm affiliated with. Enjoy the episode. Hey there, before we jump into this week's episode, I had some reflection after the recording. So, this episode, we are two female blue belts in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and we are training besties. And just for context, for those of you that may not be familiar with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, when it comes to belts, and when I say that we are blue belts in the sport, the ranking goes white, blue, purple, brown, and black. And I wanted to be really clear in this episode. We are babies in this sport. And when we talk about competing, we are absolutely hobbyists. So, in no way, shape, or form are we experts on Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. What we are qualified to have an opinion on, and you'll see in this episode, is having a conversation about our experience on getting onto the mat for the very first time. Because we have people, the biggest barrier is not what you're doing on the mat, but it's even getting on the mat and staying consistent and working through injury. And what is your mindset in approaching the sport and doing something when you feel like you're a total beginner and you're humbled. Maybe you feel afraid. Maybe it's not how you've identified yourself. You're not sure what this community is going to be like. So we wanted to demystify that in the hopes that whether it's you that needs to hear this or someone in your life that you can share it to, that it helps demystify what is it like getting on the mat and having more people hear the stories of other women getting on the mat and what their journey has been like and finding their training besties. So I hope you get something out of this, whether you are a seasoned jiu-jitsu practitioner, you are brand new, you have someone in your life that you think maybe could benefit from it, or you have a different sport, but you can relate to the mindset of doing something even when you're afraid at first and how to be brave and show up for yourself. So thank you for joining today. Enjoy. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Great Life Experiment podcast. I'm your host, Monique Schaefer, and with me I have a special guest today, Chelsea Ottaviano. Chelsea is a senior manager at a large publicly traded communications company and especially is my training bestie in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So thank you for joining me today.
I am so happy to be here and so excited that you are doing a podcast, Monique. I can't imagine anyone better to be talking about the things that you will be. So
Well,
thank you for having me on here. We started jujitsu at somehow the same week. I think you started like a couple days before I did.
yeah, I started, I think we were a week apart. Yeah, we both
Yeah.
started. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's so funny because obviously we immediately clicked and I think, we do have a somewhat difference in age, but
Yeah.
one of the things that I didn't realize I needed to see until I got to like get to know you and train with you is the ability for you to be a parent and a wife and to have like a really successful career and be so ambitious while also doing this insane combat sport and to still show up and like I have a busy work day or just something happening that day and I show up on the mat and my brain is all over the place. And one of the things that just has always really impressed me that you do is you still always manage to just show up and be so present with everyone around you and in tune with all of us while still being really in tune with yourself. And especially as like I get closer to starting a family with my husband, I needed to see someone else doing this. Like to have, especially like another woman, right? Like to have the career to train this crazy, beautiful, challenging sport and to like also have a family while still showing up for everyone around you. And I don't know that I've ever told you that before, but it's something that I have like literally expressed to
Oh,
Nate about you is like, okay, this makes me worry less seeing someone
mm,
else do it who I can also like, we can connect enough, right? We're not
yeah,
polar opposites. I'm like,
yeah.
okay, this is going to be possible for me too because I see someone else on the
Mm,
mat doing it as well. So like that is just something that I don't know if you realize that. And then now starting a podcast and starting your own business, you might be kind of insane in like all of the best ways possible, literally in all of the best ways possible. But I just, how do you balance everything?
yeah. Rhetorical question or actual question?
Actual question for someone who literally needs to know. I wonder if
Yeah,
you do
yeah.
all of it.
Uh,
Yeah.
well, I'm so honored. So thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I think I want to talk about the word balance first. I actually think that that's an expectation that like sets us up for failure or like that there should be balance. So I don't know
Mm,
that I do have balance and I don't actually think you can do everything, but I think for me it's priorities. And I read a book called Essentialism and I recommend it to everybody. And you will cry, not because it's sad, but because you realize the expectation you put on yourself to do everything all at once.
mhm,
And it's like, oh, yeah, no, that's not possible. And there will always be more that you can do than there is possibly time for. And so the finite in any season, whether it's like a season of kids, season in your job, life, if you want to go big, there will always be more. And since that is the reality, it will never all be done. It lets you off the hook. I find there's profound freedom in the finiteness of all
mhm.
of it. And so, like, when we first had kids, like, one kid was one thing, two kids was another thing because it started out Ben and I, right? And we're the dinks, right? The dual income, no
Yeah.
kids,
Yeah. I get it.
doing our thing, and it's one relationship. And then you have one kid, and then not only are you individuals, you have a marriage, you have a relationship with somebody else, but you just started a company, but like a family company, and you didn't even
Mhm.
realize that. Like you have to now manage a family enterprise. And then you had another kid, and then all the dynamics, their dynamics, your dynamics, kind of all of that. And so I think it's been an evolution in priorities. And when we first had kids, it was easy with one that totally fell apart with two was I can still be me, have work, have my thing, and then like because there are two of you and one of them, it's almost like they're an accessory. When
Mhm.
it's like one on one, the moment the other person leaves, you're like, where are you going? Why are you abandoning me? You're about to make
No.
it two on one. And so I think it took us a while to kind of figure out the rhythm again. And when I priorities, I had to get back to. So some people listening might be people of faith or not, right? So
Mhm.
God, universe, whatever. For some people that's what they put first. For me, it's like I have to put my well-being and my health first, then our marriage, and then the kids. And I've said this before, to other people for a long time. It felt like kids, kids, kids.
Yep.
Maybe my health then, is down there. And so my priorities were out of order. So when it came to jits in a very long-winded way, I think what I needed to change was I felt bored. And rather than like being bored, I actually realized I think I was boring. Like my life was work and kids, and that was it. And I needed something for me.
Well, you picked something pretty intense.
And I think also what I didn't realize at the time was I needed an outlet of equal intensity for the stress that I had in the rest of my life. I'm so in my head all the time in the pressures of like all the decisions, all the careers, like the size of the business and the family, like just the weight of that. I needed something of equal intensity to get me out of my head and into my body.
Amazing.
And I
But not
needed,
only that, like you chose something that you were also scared of
yeah,
when you first experienced it.
Yeah.
And to lean in, to have so much happening in your life to begin with. And yes, maybe like you feel like your life is boring, you need something more for you, but you could have just started yoga or like Pilates or like a dance class. And instead, you see something that scares you and you're like, that's going to be the thing for me.
Yeah. Yeah. So for people that don't know my story, and then I want you to share yours because
Mhm.
the reverse for modeling, I think there are so many people, men and women, but particularly women, or like I see the moms sitting on the side watching the kids doing jujitsu. There's so much fear about getting on the mat. So hopefully this conversation helps people. But so we have two boys. Ben is really tall. The boys will be very tall. And so we knew early on that the world was going to expect more of the boys because of their size, even if they weren't there developmentally.
Interesting. Yeah.
Because of their size, like you think they're older, so they should be able to comport themselves in a certain way. And so it was, okay, we need to help them figure out how to not be spazzes in their body and with each other.
Mhm.
And I had only ever heard of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu because of Jocko. It was like the
Love
first
Jocko.
ever like Tim Ferriss when Jocko was on before he had his podcast. Like that's where I had heard of it. And Ben was the one that brought it up. And he's like, hey, I want to look at some different things. And hey, there's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu gym opening. I've looked at it. The professor is right, a two-time world champion, like super,
Mhm.
super well trained. Seems like a great vibe for families. Like, go check it out. And originally, I was like a hard no, because I'm thinking MMA, and I'm like, I'm not letting the kids play football. Like, I'm anti head trauma. That
Mhm.
wanting to put them in the protective bubble. And he's like, "Will you just go watch a class?" And it's like, okay, of course, I will be open-minded. I will be open-minded. I can do this. And he took the kids to see a kids class. I was busy with work. And so I went and saw an adult class. And as you know, but for anybody listening that's never been to the gym, there are often, warm-ups in a specific routine, particularly in Gracie Barra. And there is an element where you need to learn how to fall correctly and hit the mat, and it's called a break fall. So anybody that's watching the video, you put your hands and it's like a rocking chair and you fall. Think about like, old school wrestling, hitting the mat. And when you have 10, 15, 20 bodies on the mat, like that's a loud sound, but it's visceral. Like you feel the smack of the mat. And now that is one of my favorite sounds. But when I first heard it, like my initial reaction was I felt so small inside.
Mhm.
I felt so intimidated, and I watched that class and I had this feeling of like shrinking. And when I get that feeling, I refuse. You have two options in that moment, right? You feel that thing in your body that makes you feel uncomfortable, and you either choose to shrink or you choose to grow. And so I came home, and Ben's like, "So what did you think?" And I was like, "Well, F it. I don't know if the times are going to work for the boys, but I have to do it because I refuse.
Interesting.
I refuse to feel small because that's how I felt inside." And so it was that first class, finding another woman, Marcella, who, was there, my first noon class, and being like, I'm petrified. I'm claustrophobic. I was a peace and justice major who had only ever done yoga and tennis. And I'm going to try it. We'll see. And I just fell in love with it because and I'll say this, see if I'll say this without crying. I can't cry this early in my podcast, but like
Mhm.
I wanted for myself and for my boys to know that mommy can do brave things, that it's not just daddy, but that I can show up. And so then when I had that whisper too of like, I did it, you were there, right? And it was like, okay, I can do this. I have somebody that I'm not going to feel like I'm going to be run over by a bus every time I leave the mat. And I feel like a complete idiot and a complete beginner. And we just laughed. We didn't take ourselves too seriously. And you were also a
Yeah.
good motivation of like, okay, she's getting a little better. I can do too, but in a like uplifting way and
Yes.
not in a like a, I wouldn't say not competitive, but not in a, I don't want you to be better. It's like, it's
Yes.
helping me to stay accountable. And I just, in a 20-minute rant on this, so sorry for how long.
I love it. Keep going.
I think once I did that because it was uncomfortable, I had to make a decision of doing it, where you can't just show up like once a week. Like the sport doesn't work that way. And so I had to make a decision, but a decision also looks like putting it on your calendar. So Ben and I worked out. I do Mondays, I do Wednesdays, I do Saturdays. Those were like the beginner class times that worked for me. And I had a tremendous amount of mommy guilt of like, I'm leaving the kids. They would literally hold on to my legs and sit on my feet and be like, don't go, mommy, don't go, mommy. And I had to like tell myself, but tell them, I was like, mommy needs to do this for herself. Mommy needs to do this. And I needed to create space for Ben to parent. Because I think sometimes as moms, it's, we sometimes put it on ourselves too. Like, yes, there's a lot that we carry, but sometimes we put it on ourselves that we need to be the emotional center for everything and we don't give space for our husbands to parent. And so it's like, okay, you get it's this is not babysitting. Like I'm giving you space 2 nights a week that you get to parent and be the one with the boys. So for you, getting it on the calendar, having that habit, having that accountability partner in a way of like, we text each other, how are you doing? Are you going to show up? Right. We got the girls chat going. And even if people dropped off, keeping in touch. So
Yeah.
that was my very long-winded story about jujitsu.
And there goes Lala. We'll
Yeah,
pause. The UPS guy just drove by.
nice,
Yep,
nice.
there. Oh no, she's gonna do this for a minute. You can cut this out too.
Yeah, no worries.
um,
Yeah, I don't hear anymore.
Nope, there it is. I was gonna say there's definitely gonna be more. I hear another truck coming. Whenever we do reproduce, this is going to be a nightmare for a baby sleeping. This is going to be so impossible.
Nope,
I don't
they're gonna
know what we're
sleep.
gonna do.
They'll probably sleep through it.
They're gonna have to learn. Maybe like in the womb, they'll hear Lola barking and then just
Yeah.
come out, expecting to have
So
her
when they're
around.
falling asleep, there's a narrow window, and then they're
I wish that was the case for me. That would be so great. That does not happen for me.
yeah.
Okay.
Are we good?
Yeah, I think she's calm
Yeah.
now. I'm calm too.
So yeah, so for me, jujitsu has represented like it wasn't a natural, comfortable thing. Like, who the hell thinks that a suburban mom in her fuse that works in tech and was a peace and justice major who's claustrophobic is like
I love it.
gonna do that and then have the whisper of like, well, maybe I should compete. And then I feel small inside. And then I have the, "Oh, okay, now I have to do it. And because I did it, my kids saw it and my husband saw it. And now we're all on the mat together."
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of my unexpected way to jujitsu. What about for you with stepping on the mat? Like what has that, wherever you want to take that question, what has that meant for you, kind of who you felt like you were stepping on the mat and then since you've been on? And maybe advice for other people listening that are like, okay, I keep hearing people talking about jujitsu. Like, should I try it?
Yeah. Yeah. And if anybody ever asks themselves, should I try jujitsu? The answer is yes. You need
Yeah.
to try it immediately. For me, wow. I well, this is how I got into jujitsu. Um, I had just finished my MBA and I was so excited for schooling to be done, right? I'm working full time. After work, I would go and work out and then I would study all night. And I did that for 2 years and I did it straight through. I did fall, summer, and spring semesters. So like the longest break I had was like 2 weeks. And I remember thinking when this is done, my life is going to be great. I accomplished this thing, no desire to go back to school.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to have so much free time after work. Life is going to be amazing. And that lasted for a month. And then after a month, I was just so bored. I couldn't believe how long, and I'm sure no one has ever said this before, but I couldn't believe how much time I had after work to
Mm,
do nothing. And it was all I dreamed about when I was, more than halfway through school and was just so over it and just wanted
yeah.
it to be done. I never imagined that I would be bored so quickly and not even bored. Like I felt sad, but I couldn't tell why I felt so bored
Mm.
and sad because I'm like, it can't be because I'm not in school anymore. That doesn't make sense. Like, this is what I wanted. And this is what I worked so hard for to do this in 2 years so I could go back to having somewhat of a normal life. And there was one day that I'm feeling particularly bored, particularly sad, and asking myself, like, what on earth is going on with me? And I go on a walk with my husband and our dog, and we have this, we're very lucky, we have like an open space right in our neighborhood, so we have this like great walking path right across the street, so we're only a couple minutes from our house on this walk when um a teenage boy is walking two of his dogs, and one of them gets off leash and just immediately just tries to just tries to kill my dog. And my
Mm.
dog is Lola. She is 35 pounds and she's like a lab border collie mix, but she was taken off the streets of Puerto Rico. So like she has a lot of fight in her for sure. She's a lot of energy, a lot of sass, and definitely a lot of fight. So
Your
this
spirit
dog do
animal, literally.
yes, she's literally my personality in like a street dog, which so it's like my personality magnified, my poor husband. Having to deal with both of us at the same time is too much for him. Um, but long story short, I won't go into the details of a dog fight, but it's not good. There were two dogs and it was awful. And I think I know now in hindsight that my inability to stay calm when this was happening made it
Mm.
worse for her. And that was and I recognized it, as soon as we got home and like we could breathe. And Lola, who at this point had sprained her hip, she had bite marks all over her and her ears, and I think she was still in shock too. We all were, but she definitely was still too. And like we're just so grateful it wasn't worse, but she's comforting me
Mm.
when she is the one that just got attacked by two big dogs.
Mm.
And no lie, I'm sitting on the couch with Nate, and my dog is trying to comfort me after this horrible experience. That I look at Nate and I was like, I'm starting jujitsu. Like I had heard of it before, but it was in that moment that I was like,
Yeah.
I made it harder for my dog because I couldn't stay calm when this
Yeah.
horrible thing that was happening, which any dog owner needs to be aware of and
Yeah.
prepared for, which I couldn't tell you exactly how to be ready and prepared for it, but it happens in a split second. And yeah, that was it. That was the moment of her comforting me when I made it worse for her, that I was like,
Mm.
I can't be so damn helpless.
Yeah.
This is not okay, not for her, not for myself, not for my future kids. Like, this is unacceptable for
Mm.
me to not be able to stay calm when something like this is like when like violence is
Yeah.
happening around me. And so, I Googled jujitsu gyms and fortunately live across the street, the one that we go to. I'm
Yeah.
so lucky. I have the best commute of anyone at this point. And it just worked out perfectly. It was the closest one. They had a free class. I actually scheduled my first like trial class 2 weeks out because I decided I was going to do it, but I was also so scared that I was like, I'm going to give myself just like a little bit of buffer time and
Yeah.
then I'll start it.
Yeah.
And I was so scared leading up to it that day that I like couldn't eat. Like when I get really nervous, I like have a
Yeah.
really hard time
You do.
eating. And the only thing I got myself to eat that day was s'mores, which is just the worst thing ever before you do what you do, which now I know. Like I didn't know that at the moment, but like you gotta watch what you eat before you train for many reasons, but like s'mores are not it. And
Yeah.
we have a gas stove, so I'm just like roasting marshmallows over it and just making s'mores because I was like, this is the only thing I can get down. Jiu-jitsu's in a couple hours. Like, I got to get some calories in me. was not a smart move at all. I have not eaten a s'more before training
Yeah, a
since
little bit
then.
of heartburn.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I'll stick to an apple now. Like I've learned since then. But yeah, the first class, no girls showed up. I definitely was too nervous to even ask like Marcella to do it with me like you did. So kudos to you for being like, I need someone to do this with me. I was too scared to even ask someone to do it with me. There's no girls, and one of our lovely professors pairs me with the largest man up there. The largest guy up there available, the largest one. And I remember like the first time you like get like into a move, like you start training a position, the first moment is scary because if you're not used to having physical contact with strangers, which I don't know who is comfortable with that unless you do sports like this.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pajama wrestling, so it's a little awkward.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Not
yeah.
disrespecting the art. Just yeah.
Yeah, it's not something you normally do, especially
Yeah.
like at this point, a 30-year-old, I think I was engaged at the time, just a 30-year-old woman who just does not interact with strangers like this at all, right?
Yeah.
But after like 5 minutes, that nervousness just went away because I was like, you want me to bend down, grab this giant man's foot, and take him down to the mat. Like you think I am capable of doing that? Like you must be out of your mind. But
Yeah.
okay, let's try it. Like let's give it a go. And I'm sure this guy was being nice to some degree, but I did indeed get him down to the mat.
Yeah.
And it was so scary and it was so strange, but I loved every second of it.
Yeah.
At another point in time, I went to that professor and was like, hey, remember my first class when you paired me with the biggest guy there? He was like, yeah, we got to see if you're going to stick around. And I was like, okay, well, I signed up immediately after. You didn't scare me
Yeah.
off. And it just, jujitsu is doing it is the most fun I have ever had in my life. And I think I have pretty fun hobbies. I love hiking and camping and I like having a good time. Like
Yeah.
I thought I knew fun, especially while being like physical.
Yeah.
And then you start jujitsu and it was like I found a piece of the puzzle that I'd always been missing
Yeah.
that I needed to feel like a whole person.
Mhm.
I didn't have that before this. And it's not just because of the sport itself.
Yeah.
It's because it's so dang hard. So hard. And it's also so scary sometimes. And that's okay to admit that, like, we're learning how to hurt someone, but you're
Yeah.
doing this with your friends and you don't want to actually hurt your
Yeah.
friends. And so it's with that, it's the relationships that you build, it's the community of people that you have. It checked so many boxes for me that I didn't even know I needed checked
Yeah.
until I started. And the same thing was like, maybe I will try competing too. And that just drove me mad for like months. Like, I was so
Yeah.
scared. But then I see you at IBJJF Denver Open last year. And I get there and you go on early because now we know like your start time is never actually your start time. Like you're
Yeah.
going to go earlier or later.
Yeah.
And I get there and you are on the mat fighting. And I'm like, okay, Monique is on the mat and she is fighting. Like this is happening right
It's
now.
happening.
But watching you do it, I was like, I can do this too. Like, I don't feel scared. Like, this is my training partner and she is out there giving it her all. Like, I can do this too. And then we both competed a week
Yeah.
later, which I don't recommend competing twice in a week. I don't think I'll ever do that again.
I was
Like you
actually
did the
so
first.
glad I did because I was mentally prepared. It got me in that headspace. Like, I think the first
Mhm.
time stepping on, I don't know, for the three times that I've done it as of this recording, I think each time I feel like throwing up a little bit and questioning my life choices of like, why am I doing this? And yet at the same time, there's this like deep sense of like, I need to do this. I need to show up. And I think doing the first one and then the second one, I was in a better headspace and I was actually calmer because
Mm.
I think what I wasn't prepared for. So it's one thing to train. And I think our my perception coming in, and I think a lot of people have this, is that you're about to step on the mat and there are like a bunch of aggressive people that are trying to hurt you, and it's like mean and intimidating. And at least with the culture of the gym that we go to, right? It's
Mhm.
very warm, it's very supportive. It's like, I'm going to very gently choke you and try to armbar you. Um, so there's still like a safety element in there, but then like the first time you step on the mat, once again, yoga, tennis, not
Mhm.
exactly the biggest like adrenaline rushes. You smack hands, fist bump, and go. And the adrenaline dump, I was not prepared for how that would hit, and like the panic and like in my breathing and all of that. And so having that the first time, I then knew smack bump, and I like shuffled back to like have more distance to allow my body to like let that hit a little bit
Yeah.
more, because it was like, this is going to pass, because it's like fight or flight kicks in, but your only option is fighting.
Yeah, literally is the
Yeah.
only option is literally giving it everything you have.
Yeah.
Yeah, I competing is the scariest thing I have ever done. And the thing is, we're smart to have that like physical and mental reaction of being
Yeah.
scared because you're doing something dangerous. And we have other things we need to go do
Yeah.
after we do this really big, scary, dangerous thing. There is a risk of injury when you do compete. And
Yeah.
especially when your body is warmed up and you have your adrenaline going, like you can't tell really what is happening. But the thing that I also learned is it's the worst leading up to it, right?
Yeah.
It's the worst leading up to that moment where you walk on the mat, you shake hands with the ref, you shake hands with your opponent, and then you
Yeah.
start. And then after that, your body just does what you have tried to do for so long, which is fight well, which is really hard. We're
Yeah.
still learning how to fight well, but
Yeah.
you kind of automatically go into like, this is my game plan. And it never goes to plan, obviously.
Yeah.
And the adrenaline dump does absolutely affect your ability to think coherently.
Yeah.
Like, I found after competing that I can't think straight for like 2 days.
Mm.
Just my brain and my body just react to it in some sort of strange way where
Yeah.
I can't think. Like, I remember after the last time I competed, I'm I couldn't sit down and eat. Like, I like the adrenaline
Yeah.
like would
It took me a
not leave
couple
my
hours.
body. So I am eating my, post competition mac and cheese that I earned, and I'm walking in circles in my living room in my kitchen just eating because like I couldn't sit down yet, and it takes a couple of days. But there's something that is so beautiful about doing something that is this scary and that is legitimately dangerous compared to
Yeah.
what we do every day in the gym with our friends,
Yeah.
that whether either of us ever compete again or if we want
Right.
to, the fact that we did it, I it is one of regardless of whatever medal that either of us has gotten, just the fact that we did it is
Yeah.
something that I will hold on to forever. And even when we do have kids, whether they see me compete or not, I'm going to show them the medals and be like,
Yeah.
but I did do it. I did do
Yeah.
it in my 30s, and it was really hard and it was really scary. And
Yeah.
one day maybe you'll be out there doing the same
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. And I think whether it's, jujitsu, I think for just being brave for
Yeah,
yourself. And
exactly.
I think the commonality in our story, but I think in a lot of women we talk to, like there's some event that the fear of not taking action
Hmm.
is more like concerning than the fear of actually doing the thing. Like there's an event, there's something that it's like it is no longer acceptable, right? To use
Hmm.
it's no longer acceptable the current state where I am or how I'm feeling, and that's going to motivate me to take action and show up for myself and be brave. And
Yeah.
I think everybody has different stories, but it's like, what is that? It's either curiosity, or for a lot of women, I think it's something, about being brave after a certain age. Maybe if you're 16, not so much, but like
Yeah.
after a certain age, you're like, should I be doing this or not? And what I've noticed, right? Clearly, we are hobbyists. We are not competitors. We are blue belts. We are not experts, but we've now seen enough women also come through the gym, right? I went to a large, like all women's jujitsu camp with several hundred women down in Arizona. And I think the commonalities, even though people have different lives, like the commonality is like everybody has time issue, everybody has self-perception issue, everybody has some level of worthiness issue. We all have some sort of fight and fire in us. We're all a little spicy in our in our own way.
Yeah.
And for many of us, it's figuring out how to use our bodies, like to be heavy, to take up space, to not apologize for everything. Like the work that I had to do mentally between training and the first time getting on the mat was a conversation that I had with one of our professors who always talks about ABCs, always be choking. And he's like, have you ever been in a fight before? I'm like, no. Like, who would be in a fight with me?
He would
And
ask that.
he had this like concerned face. He's like, you need to be like, you need to be aggressive. And like that word didn't resonate for me. And then I was talking with our head professor about my hang up around that. I was like, I have fire in me and I fight in me, but I don't want, that's for me. It's not about the other person. I don't want to fight somebody else. And he's like, don't worry about them. What you need is to be powerful and committed. You need to tap into your power and be committed to the move and what you're trying to do. I'm like, oh, like that's a good life quote right there. This is one of the obnoxious, like you take your sports analogies too far, but I really liked that of like being powerful and committed. And it's okay to take up space and like go for what you want in life.
And
So
then on
anyway,
the opposite hand, one thing that I have been forced to learn, which is just the summary of the past year of just being forced to learn things against my will, is actually being the opposite of having a rotator cuff injury that allows me to still train, but choosing to not let it get worse, but also choosing to continue training in any capacity that I can because I love it. Even it's kind of like psychological torture sometimes being there and not being able to do everything.
yeah.
And then other, strange physical things happening where I'm like, I have to take a minute to step aside and like let my body heal and give it the rest that it needs, even though my brain can only think about fighting people for fun. I'm learning right now how to be less aggressive with myself. And I'm excited when I can get back to the mats, hopefully very soon, to, see how what I have been forced to learn in the past month, see how that translates to my training. I'm just so excited to get back to learning the really technical things where power and all of that and strength and being heavy matter. Like the most beautiful thing about this sport is the technique and how it does work for smaller people.
Yes.
And I
Yeah,
just
people
can't
can't
wait.
tell from the camera. Like you and I
Yeah,
are
we're
same
little.
same yeah, we're same weight class, same size. Like we're not big individuals. Like everybody except for each other, most people are weight classes above us. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And just learning that even though I, like have so much fire in me, my vessel is not that big and I need to be better about taking care of it. And also when I'm not training, being better about strength training, which
Yeah.
it's really hard to balance both of those things, but women in jujitsu have to lift. We have to do strength training because you are, if your body is stronger, you're harder to hurt and things are going to happen on
Yeah.
the mat. And it's this lesson that certain professors of ours like to keep telling me. It's like, okay, you have to lift at least a couple days a week if you
Yeah,
want
you
to,
do.
prevent injuries. And
Yeah.
the world taught me that lesson once again recently. So I'm excited to lift and to train and to just never stop. It is a sport. Even if you have to take time away for life and injuries, whatever it is, it's always going to be there. Your people are always going to be there. And people understand when things happen and you have to
Yeah.
take a moment. But everybody's going to be so excited. Like when you come back, because this is your community of people and everybody just wants to see everybody do well and keep improving and keep
Yeah.
training and learning and growing with each other. And I can't think of anything better for a person than that. It's Jiu-Jitsu is the best thing in the world.
Oh, I love it. All right, we should make this a two-part
Yes.
episode. I think this will be our standalone
There's so much
jujitsu
to
episode.
say. Yeah.
And then
Really is so much to say about it though. Like truly, not even just like our experiences, but just God, I can't wait to train again.
so maybe let's wrap this episode kind of with our love note to
Mhm.
physical therapists, because
Yeah,
I
I
think
love
it's
that. I
an
love that.
underrated topic and something that when I first started, because I have to think things through first before I try them. I live in my head probably far too much. And so I was consuming everything I can on podcasts about women training in jujitsu. And there's another podcast out there called Bulletproof BJJ that I remember another white belt had recommended right when I started. And they had an episode and it was really direct and it had surprised me at first, but they talk about injuries in jujitsu. And I appreciated the honesty of like, yeah, you're doing a sport that's fun, but the longer you do it, and especially when you first start, if you ramp up too quickly, if you do more than 3 days a week, depending on your age, like, and the nature of your job, it can start to take wear or tear, right? How many 3-stripe white belts or 4-stripe white belts start going out with injury? And they were talking about one of your best friends needs to be your investment in a physio or a physical therapist. They're Australian, so I love listening to them. So shout out to Bulletproof BJJ. You and I, not only being training besties, we have also shared physical therapists. We've
Yes.
shared the same injuries. So do you want to, what's your maybe thought or takeaway or any kind of story about your experience that you want to share for anybody that is either thinking about doing jujitsu or is currently doing jujitsu and maybe doesn't have a physical therapist?
If anyone is even just if the thought ever crosses your mind, should I do this? The answer is yes. Because also, you don't have to keep doing it. If you start it and you do a trial class somewhere, which most places do offer for free, and everybody is so nice and gentle to new people. I think just like anything else in life, you got to listen to that voice because there's a reason that you're wondering, should I start a combat sport? At whatever age, whatever gender you are, I think like anything else in life, like you got to listen to that and just try it. I think people will be surprised how different it is than what they expect it to be. Especially if you see videos online of what it is. Uh it's a lot more fun than I think people will expect to roll around with your friends. And for anyone who's currently doing it and it may, you're starting to ramp up, you're starting to roll, which I think is where a lot of the injuries do happen. You do need a good physical therapist, but not even just a good physical. You need a physical therapist that you can trust who also understands and respects the sport that you do.
Yeah.
Right? Because you don't want a physical therapist that is just, well, you can't do this sport anymore or you shouldn't do this anymore. Yeah. No, I'm going to keep doing this, but like, I think I tweaked my knee. So can you help me with this instead of telling me what I should be doing about it?
Yeah.
And that's why I also love having a PT right now who does do jujitsu. And when I went to him, for my shoulder, it was like, maybe you shouldn't roll, but here are some things that you should be okay doing.
Yeah.
And then you'll come in and we'll work on your shoulder. So a PT that you trust, that you also feel comfortable going to and saying, I tweaked something and I'm not entirely sure what it is, because jujitsu can give you some pretty strange injuries.
Yeah.
Usually minor too, right? With like ice and rest and like some PT will help.
Yeah.
The main other thing that I've learned is I think jujitsu has a way of bringing to light, I guess, every imbalance that you have, any instability that you have. It just brings it right to light. And so I never hurt like a major muscle, right? I've never hurt my hamstring. I've never hurt my bicep.
You've never
It's
broken your
all,
arm. You've never, yeah.
yeah, it's the tiny little things that you just don't think about if you are lifting outside of jujitsu. It's the rotator cuff, it's the hip flexors, right? It's having strong feet. It's all of these things that I just
Your
ignore even when,
fingers.
oh, yes, your
Yeah.
fingers. Yes,
Yeah.
that's those take a beating too, but it's all of those little things, the little body parts that you feel okay ignoring in your normal fitness routine because it's fine, right? You're not doing something where those are really being affected. Jiu-jitsu brings those to life, and you need to get those strong, and you need to do mobility work. You need, especially women who are more likely to be hypermobile, like both of us are, especially like in our upper body. You need to build strength at length to make yourself harder to hurt. And there's just that is just the reality of it. You can't just do jujitsu. You have to also strength train, and you need a good physical therapist, and maybe do some yoga while you're at it too, so you
Yeah.
stay limber. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of physical needs to the sport. It is not just what you can bring to the mat. It's, as the world keeps teaching me, it is everything you do off of the mat that makes you better on it. So it's so easy to get lost in the obsession though. I've been there. We both have been there, just getting lost in it.
Yeah.
Try not to get lost in it. You got to take care of yourself outside of it so that you don't have to take breaks from it because you're hurt.
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad that we could talk about jujitsu, and I hope for everybody that is listening, if you've ever been curious about trying jujitsu, I didn't expect we'd have a whole episode on jujitsu, so
We
we'll
have so
definitely
much to
have a part
say.
two. But there is a lot to say on it,
Mhm.
and thank you for being my training bestie, and we'll be
Always.
back the next episode we'll talk more career and business and life pivots. So thanks, Chelsea. Thank you for tuning into this episode today. And remember, friends, there is no one right way to do this thing called life. I hope you found this conversation valuable. Please make sure to follow and subscribe on Apple Podcast or Spotify or wherever you may listen. And it would mean the world to me if you went and you clicked on rate the show and left a 5-star rating to help other people find these conversations. Until then, friends, keep experimenting. Talk to you soon.